All right, friends, it's time for another one of my patented tier lists. This time, we will be taking a trip down memory lane once again, back to the 2000s, and we will be asking ourselves, who was the best 2000s rock band? I feel like the 2000s for straight up rock, and I don't mean metal, I mean rock. I feel like 2000s rock was a little bit of a dark place, so I'll be honest with you. I can't say that I'm a huge fan of much 2000s rock, but today we will do our best to separate the wheat from the chaff. We'll see who is the best 2000s rock band in this tier list. Let's see. Basketball fans, tournament time is officially here. So fill out your brackets and place your bets on who you think will rise to the top with my partners at DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, all new customers who bet $5 will get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings app now and sign up using my code FINN, F-I-N-N. The crown is yours. That's right, new customers can bet just $5 on absolutely anything and receive $150 in bonus bets instantly. And stay in on the action and use your $150 in bonus bets on DraftKings same game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. That's where you combine multiple bets together from the same game, including total points scored, number of rebounds by your favorite player, and more. And if sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry, you can still join in on the action with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have a shot at winning cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use my promo code FINN and bet just $5 on any wager and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code FINN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. I will start, in no particular order, with a band that I don't really talk about too much, but I probably should, which is Arctic Monkeys. But I'm not finished, 'cause you're not by my side. Yeah, the British Strokes. I feel like Arctic Monkeys, it's a band that I just sort of missed. Like, I didn't really understand. I hear younger people talk about Arctic Monkeys as like a really important band that like got them into music and was like really influential. Like Lil Xan, for example, he loves Arctic Monkeys, and that's like a big, sort of tentpole bands for him. Like, really? Okay. Music for the 2000s Urban Outfitters girl. That's sort of how I felt about it. Yeah, gentrification music. I certainly don't think they're bad or anything like that, but I don't really personally, I don't know. I don't really get the hype, I guess. They have more Spotify listeners than Morgan Wallen? Really? I gotta confirm this. Arctic Monkeys, 51.6 million monthly listeners. Morgan Wallen. Holy shit. How in the world do Arctic Monkeys have twice as many Spotify listeners as Morgan Wallen? That's insane. Wow. Yeah, who are these? Exactly. Who are these people? Who are the 51 million people listening to Arctic Monkeys? I don't know. Either way, they're one of these bands that, to me, I just feel like so much of this music from this decade just sounds like car commercial music to me. Like, if you put a gun to my head, I couldn't identify them. If you said, hey, tell me right now, which one of these bands is Arctic Monkeys and which one is fucking, I don't know, any one of 9,000 other, like, to me, interchangeable 2000s, kind of indie alternative rock bands, I couldn't do it. And perhaps that means that I just don't understand this kind of music, which is very likely. But I don't know. There's just something about this sound that just doesn't really, just doesn't really make sense to me. With that being said, I'm sort of flying blind here. I don't actually know how good Arctic Monkeys are because I just can't tell. It's like, how if you ask your mom, hey mom, who's better, Chiodos or Bless the Fall? She's like, I don't know. It all just sounds like Screamo to me. That's kind of how I feel about Arctic Monkeys. So I'm just going to put them on the B tier because I guess I don't really understand what is any different about Arctic Monkeys than anything else. Girls listen to them. That means it's at least A tier. Okay, well, fair enough. But listen, that's my opinion on Arctic Monkeys. That said, I am open to being wrong about that one because I just literally don't understand the appeal whatsoever. So next up, we have another band that's popular with indie girls in the 2000s, Death Cab for Cutie. Ben Gibbard is a musical genius. I agree with that. You've never heard of Death Cab for Cutie? How did you never hear of Death Cab for Cutie? I will say, I think Death Cab for Cutie are absolutely god tier, not just for this genre. I think Death Cab for Cutie, in my personal opinion, are one of the absolute best artists in any genre of any time. Like, they are, to me, like, Death Cab for Cutie is so good that they transcend genre or time. Like, I would put them in the same category, to me, as, say, like Nirvana or, you know, the Beatles, or like just absolutely truly legendary bands to me. Personally, I think as far as like this kind of music goes, I think they're the absolute perfection of it, in my personal opinion. And also, Death Cab for Cutie, from the same town as me, Bellingham, Washington. So shout out to Bellingham, Washington. I was born somewhere in here way back in 1978. But yeah, I mean, I think they're just, to me, the absolute pinnacle of this sound. Music for girls who wear vintage thrifted dresses who hate their mom. No. Music for girls who wear vintage thrifted dresses who hate their dad. Well, actually, maybe that's not true. If they hate their dad, they get into hardcore. If they hate their mom, they get into indie. Maybe that's the rule. But yeah, I mean, I think Death Cab for Cutie, to me, is perfect, specifically because there's a sense of, I guess, like darkness to Death Cab for Cutie, because like half their songs are about death, and not in like a cutesy kind of way. They're actually like really heavy, almost like hard to listen to because the songs are so dark. There's an element there that, to me, like a lot of indie music to me has always felt just sort of like kind of shallow, uninteresting music with nothing really to say. Definitely not the case for Death Cab for Cutie. In my opinion, like I said, not just one of the best bands of this era and this genre, but in my opinion, up there with, you know, Nirvana, Lil Peep, anything like that, where, you know, they just transcend genre and time and are just fucking great any way you want to look at it. That's what I think about them. So to me, this is a very easy S tier for me. Maybe you disagree, and if you do, that's okay. But Death Cab for Cutie, absolutely god tier. I don't think I've ever heard anybody but you talk so highly of Lil Peep. Well, then I don't think you follow music very closely, because I would say everybody talks about Lil Peep the way that I do. I think Lil Peep is like pretty much universally recognized as legendary and great. So I think my opinion on Lil Peep is actually just sort of like the normal consensus opinion these days. That's what I think. But yeah, Death Cab for Cutie, S tier in my opinion. How about Muse? To me, Muse is like the butt rock Radiohead. Butt rock Radiohead. Muse is like if Radiohead listened to 3 Days Grace, it would sound like Muse. I like this song. Yeah, they are fantastic musicians. A friend of mine is very into Muse, and he knows more about music than anybody I've ever known. Yeah, FYE commercial music. That's kind of my take on Muse, is I get it. I mean, I do like Muse. I think they're solid. Muse to me is one of these bands that's just sort of like a little bit too in the middle for me personally. Tool for non-virgins. Well, maybe they're not virgins, but maybe they just like fucked one girl once at a party many years ago because she was fresh off a breakup and they were never able to pull it off again. That's what I think. Tool for guys who managed to get it in once like 8 years ago. But to me, they're a little bit just kind of in the middle, too in the middle for me. I think they're good, but they're not like heavy enough to be heavy. They're not indie enough to be indie. They're not math enough to be totally math. They're just kind of like, you know, it's sort of in the middle for me. But certainly I've heard a lot worse. And it is shocking how big they are. 14 million monthly listeners, right? I mean, that is like no joke. I don't know who are the 14 million people listening to Muse, and they play like stadiums and shit. It's like they're surprisingly big. But where would I put them? I would say I wouldn't necessarily choose to listen to Muse personally, but I can objectively recognize that they're a good band. They're good at what they do, at least, even if it's not for me. I think I'm going to go with, what do you guys think? We got some B's, some C's, some A's. I would rather listen to Muse than Arctic Monkeys. I don't love Muse, but at least they've kind of got some balls, whereas Arctic Monkeys to me is just a little bit too kind of milquetoast. So I would put Muse on the A tier. That's what I'm going to put them. Next up, what do we have? How about Gorillaz? I have always fucking hated Gorillaz. Hated.
Finally, someone let me out
I hate this fucking song.
Time for me is nothing because I'm counting no A's.
I do love the art. Yeah, the art is awesome. I think that's really cool. The music itself is so goddamn irritating. I don't know. It sounds like some Adult Swim commercial, right? They're popular with young kids. Well, yeah, it makes sense. It's basically children's music. Yeah, I can't get into it. I respect the art quite a bit. I respect that. The creative direction is cool. I respect that, but the music itself is just like, ugh. The only thing I can think of is this radio station in Seattle used to use one of their songs as the bumper for like in between shows. And every time I hear that song, it's the other one, the other song, I forget the name of it. It reminds me of basically that, of just like the music that would play on a radio station in between commercials. That's what Gorillaz sounds like to me. I'm putting them on the F tier. Yeah, Feel Good Incorporated. That's the one, yeah. Oh yeah, Jamie Hewlett, who created Tank Girl. Yeah, very cool art, but it is bumper music, unfortunately. That's where I would put it for me. Just my personal opinion. I would put them on the F tier in the context of 2000s music. Obviously, I've heard worse in general, but I hate Gorillaz. To me, Gorillaz is like that fucking Dance Monkey song. Dance, dance, dance. That fucking Dance Monkey song. That's what Gorillaz is like to me. And not just because it says monkey. It's the same kind of like irritating, like, you know, kind of Pixar cartoon parrot music for me. Can't do it. Okay, next up, how about the White Stripes? How do we feel about the White Stripes?
Was a baby boy, so we bought him a toy. It was a gun.
I would never choose to listen to White Stripes, but I do respect them. I'll tell you why I like the White Stripes. I would never, ever, ever choose to listen to them. White Stripes is fucking trash. It's like their first 5 minutes of playing instruments. Well, that's what I actually like about it. I like the fact that he basically took this like shit tier Midwest garage rock kind of sound that had been going around in like the 90s and stuff like that on the underground and made it popular. Like the what's the fucking, is it Thrill Jockey? Is that the name of the label? All that stuff that was like happening in the Midwest in like Ohio and Michigan and stuff like that. There were a lot of people doing this kind of stuff, and they actually made it popular. I don't personally like it, but I respect it. I think it's cool. Like, he has a creative vision. That's what I really respect. People is like that have a specific thing they want to do and they do it even if I don't like it. So I respect it even if I wouldn't choose to listen to it. But here's really why I like Jack White, okay? Little known fact about why I like Jack White is this. He's into upholstery. Did you know that? He has an upholstery shop called Third Man Upholstery Shop. And he's into this. He's into like restoring old like couches and chairs and shit. Yeah, I'm a fan. I mean, I think I like genuinely, I think that's cool. There's nobody in the world who thinks that upholstery is cool, but he's doing it. So here you go. Look at this chair. A pair of mid-century office chairs done by Jack White for the Eclipse Creative Video Production Company, the Pioneer Building in Detroit, the late 90s. There we go. So, you know what I would like to do? I would like to get one of these chairs reupholstered by Jack White, and I would like to fart on it. That's what I would want to do. I want to fart on this chair that Jack White reupholstered. I also like how much he would fuck with the press, like how originally they said that they were brother and sister. They would like kiss and stuff and then tell the press that they were brother and sister. Of course, it came out that they were actually married, but I thought that was cool too. So even though I do not like the White Stripes, I respect them. He's a man who values craft. He's into upholstery. He goes in the A tier just for the upholstery. How do you even discover you're into upholstery? That's what I want to know. Jack, if you happen to be watching this by any chance, I would love the chance to fart on one of your chairs someday. So, you know, if there's a way for us to make it happen, let's do it. Here's a band that I absolutely could not fucking stand at the time. Bloc Party. I think this came out in what, 2004 or 5? Remember this? I hate Bloc Party with a passion. Like, what the fuck is this shit? This literally sounds like some vagrant like wandered into the recording studio and just started like howling in the microphone before someone realized that he was in there. And they're like, wait a minute, you can't be in here. You know, stops the tape. And then they're like, hey, what did he record? And they play it back and it's this. just some random dude like howling into the microphone. Yeah, Block Party's like Joy Division after they finger banged one person. I agree with that. I will say, as much as I dislike Block Party, I do give them credit for bringing back the sort of, they're very, 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 very inspired by Gang of Four, for example. Do you guys know how much they sound like Gang of Four? Listen to this. This is what Gang of Four sounds like.
Sometimes I'm thinking that I love you.
Do you think Block Party's ever heard Gang of Four? Do you think they've ever heard Gang of Four?
Your sweat so sour.
Sounds just a little bit familiar. Now, I will say, I do give them credit for bringing back that, early 80s post-punk kind of sound, which I personally hate. However, I do give them credit for bringing that back. And, you hear now, like, Paramore, for example, like, very obviously wants to be Block Party, like on their, some of their newer songs. Very influential. And I feel like they made that sound relevant to a lot of people that didn't even know that it existed, although it's kind of derivative and I hate it. So I would rather probably listen to Godsmack than Block Party at this point. But I will give them at least a little bit of credit, and I would rather listen to Block Party than Gorillaz, because at least it doesn't sound like fucking hold music at the dentist's office. Here's another band that I just don't get. The Black Keys. I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Like, it literally sounds like commercial music. Like, when I hear this, I can't think about anything other than commercials for like trucks or beer or like the Home Depot Memorial Day sale. I cannot think of this as anything other than, Gap, jeans. Like, it literally, like, it sounds like they made this specifically to be the background music of commercials, doesn't it? TGI Fridays, any Tizers type of beat. I don't get most of these bands, but I remember a lot of beard competitions and dudes rolling their own cigarettes. Every single band on this list reminds me of why I listened to Tech Death in the 2000s. Me too. Listen, in the 2000s, I was listening to fucking Decrepit Birth and Disgorge. Okay? It's like, I don't have time to listen to Black Keys and fucking White Stripes. Let's listen to Origin and Decrepit Birth all day, every day. That's me back then. And I used to kick myself for it, but in hindsight, I think maybe I was right. I just don't get it. Like, who listens to Black Keys and they're like, oh, fuck yeah, this is the best thing I've ever heard in my life. How could anyone have any strong feelings about this at all? It's like the most vanilla, bland, unremarkable music that anybody has ever made. This summer, only 2.9% APR on a brand new Kia Soul. 0% for the first 6 months, $500 down at participating dealers only. And then, right here. I don't get it. I don't get it. But I do think that they had cool merch and a cool logo because it was designed by the singer's brother, was a graphic designer at Abercrombie. And he's very good, and he did cool merch and cool logos for them. I think this shit fucking sucks. I hate the Black Keys. I think it's trash. I would put it in the F tier personally. Okay, last one we have is a staple of the 2000s. I feel like it's cool to hate these guys now. The Killers. I feel like it's cool to hate Killers now. I think this song is amazing and great. Yeah, there are tons of hits. I am very interested in this cabaret aesthetic that was popular around this time in the 2000s, right? There was Moulin Rouge, right? Had this look. Panic at the Disco for I Write Sins Not Tragedies had this look. These guys had the look. It's like, what was going on with all the cabaret shit at the time? I don't understand it. But I will say, I feel like, I guess this song got pretty overplayed. And apparently this is like the most popular song of all time in the UK, I guess. That's what I'm told. I don't know. I feel like if you hate this song, if you're hating on this song, I feel like you're just trying to be contrarian. Like, how could you possibly hate this song? How could you hate this? It's a millennial classic. I think Killers are great. I discovered them from the OC when Seth Cohen, the patron saint of 2000s indie music, put them on the show. So shout out to Seth Cohen. And you know what? I say shout out to the Killers. I think they're awesome. I think if you hate the Killers, then you're a false millennial. That's what I think. Death to false millennials. That's what I say. Killers are S tier. And that does it for the 2000s rock tier list. Join us next time for a deep dive into more of the best and worst of the 2000s. Jack, if you happen to be watching this by any chance, I would love the chance to fart on one of your chairs someday.